Oh wait, yep, you did.
Good morning everyone. It's a wonderful sunny day here and we are getting ready to go back to school and Nathan's getting ready to go off to university. So I thought this was a really good idea to do some clever meal prep ideas, just ways of saving time, saving money, but still keeping to a healthy diet and to a budget as well, which is important if you are a student and you're really going to be wondering, where your money's coming from. And I'm very keen that Nathan doesn't just resort to baked beans on toast or gluten-free pot noodles. So I want to show everyone how we can make up, within about 30 minutes, a whole range of meals that will set you for 2 or 3 days, and you can just keep them in the fridge or the freezer. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to make up some rice. So this, because I'm using whole grain rice, it will take about 20 minutes to cook, so I want to get that on now. Now, just as a rule of thumb, and it does really depend on how hungry you are, or whether you're watching your carbs or whatever, or you're a student, I'm going to use a cup. Now, normally, I don't actually use a measuring cup, I just get a mug, and in which case you're going to get a lot more rice, but the same principle applies. 1 cup to 2 cups water. So I'm going to put in a cup of rice. Now this should give you at least, I'm looking at Nathan, at least 4 servings, at least, okay? Then you'll need 2 cups of water, so just use whatever measuring container you use for the rice, just pour your water in there, and you need 2 of those, that's it. Now, if you want some extra flavour, say you know that all you're going to do with this rice is have it in savoury dishes, then what you could do is also add a gluten-free stock cube. I'm saying gluten-free because we're gluten-free here, and this is just a chicken stock. Luckily, most of the stock cubes, that was a Knorr one, are actually gluten-free. So, lid on, and this is important, get the lid on, and you want it to get to a boil quickly. As soon as it does get to a boil, turn it right down to a simmer. It just needs to be just simmering. Put your timer on, 20 minutes, leave it. Do not open the lid, do not stir it, don't do anything. Just let it simmer and it should soak up all of that liquid. So I wanted to get that on now. Now, I'm also going to prepare a range of chicken marinades, because these are a really good way of prepping lunches and evening meals in the same go. And obviously you could do this with other meats and also fish. We were doing it with salmon the other day. And to save money, if you are watching your budget, get yourself bags of frozen breast fillets, chicken breast fillets. Just get bags of frozen ones. And then you can defrost either half or the whole lot and then cook up a whole batch. Now, on my blog, I've just written a blog all about the meal preps, including some of the marinade ingredients that I'm going to use. So if you don't catch all the ingredients, just go to the blog. So that's christinebailey.co.uk and you'll see the blog. I think we've got a question. Okay, so we've got people coming on. What I should say is, if you do have any questions about what I'm preparing, just write them down on the Facebook, we can answer them straight away. Welcome everyone if you've just joined us. All I've just done is put the rice on. I've done 1 cup of rice and I am going to cook it, because I'm using whole grain, I'm going to cook it for 20 minutes. And obviously, it's slower releasing, and you can get really big bags. They will keep in the cupboard, for months, so it's a much quicker and cheaper way than buying pre-cooked, sort of instant microwave bags. Now the chicken, the first thing you need, get yourself some of these Ziploc bags. These are brilliant. We actually picked everything that I'm really using today, apart from the mason jar, which I'll show you later, we got from Poundland, quite frankly. So just get yourself some of these Ziploc bags. Now, if you're cooking for a large family, obviously you might need slightly larger ones than this, but if you're a student on your own, just choose smaller bags, because then the marinade is going to coat your meat or fish much more readily. Now, if you want it to cook very quickly, I've got here fairly small chicken fillets, I'll be honest. But if you want it to cook quicker, then just cut them into little chunks. Place your chicken. Now, the idea is that you do a lot. So don't just do one portion. You're going to make 2 or 3 portions, so that then you've got it either for an evening meal or lunch the next day. So I'm going to make up, got 3 fillets in there, and then I'm going to do exactly the same in another bag, but I'm going to then use different marinades. And that means you've got a range of cooked chicken dishes with different flavours, so it doesn't get boring. Chicken can be quite bland. It's a great source of protein, obviously. And again, for those of you who are watching who are vegetarian or vegan, you can do this with chunks of firm tofu. So the cauldron tofu works really well, and then you can just bake it off as well. So I'm just going to move that out of the way so you can see. Now I'm going to wash my hands. I've just been touching raw chicken, so just give me a minute. I'm just going to wash my hands. Okay, so then we're going to, and we might need some close-ups on this, Nathan, if we can, just so people can see. Again, on my blog, I've got about 3 or 4 quick and easy marinades that you might want to try. The first one, which I prepared, because this one actually needs to be sort of pre-cooked, is the teriyaki sauce. Normally, if you buy teriyaki, one, it's got lots of syrups in. Often it's not even gluten-free. So I've made my own. Now this is important because I've cooked this. You need to cool it right down before you pour it over your cold raw chicken. Now I'm only going to add half, and there's a reason for that, and that is because the rest of it will actually make a really nice salad dressing. So once you have cooked your chicken, you've got some left that you can then pour into a little pot if you're going to take it with you as a salad, or you can just drizzle it over your final dish. Obviously you can't use the marinade that's left over in here unless you cook it, because it's going to have touched raw chicken. So that's really important, just health and safety. Okay, now ideally give it a good massage, and then that would go in the fridge. And you would chill that. I mean, ideally, if you could chill that the night before, so that in the morning it's nice and flavoursome, the longer you can chill it, the better. We will cook it pretty much straight away, just to show you. So that's the first one. Now the second one is more of a jerk seasoning, so sort of getting a little bit more spicy. And what I've got here, and again, all the ingredients are on the blog. Some lemon juice, that's going in. And with this one, I'm actually going to add all the marinade, because I don't particularly want to use this one as a dressing. But again, if you didn't want to, just pour it into a jug first, the dressing, and then put only half of it into your chicken. Now the spices. So I've got here a combination of smoked paprika, some cumin, allspice, cinnamon, and a little bit of thyme. But really, you know, if you haven't got some of those ingredients, don't go out and buy more. Just use what you have got and just vary the flavours. You don't, you know, the whole point is we're trying to save money. So I don't want you just buying something if you're hardly ever going to use it. Get yourself a range of sort of staple spices. I love cumin, I love smoked paprika. Sometimes I use a bit of garlic salt. Black pepper is always good. And welcome everyone if you're just joining in. We're just marinating our chicken. This is the jerk seasoning, and I've got all the ingredients on the website, on our blog. So please don't worry about you know, remembering what I'm actually using. It's really to get you some ideas. So again, Ziploc bags, very safe and very secure. If you are a student and you are going to be sharing your fridge, get a Sharpie pen and write down, this is mine, get off, or whatever. And also you might, if you are making lots of different flavours, then I would say it's worth just making a note so you remember this was the teriyaki, this was the jerk. I've got a nice lemon olive oil one on there as well, and also a creamy one, so you can make things which are more Asian with peanut butter, gluten-free soy sauce. Those are lovely as well. So ideally give that a nice marinating time in your fridge. I'm, however, going to cook it now. So what I've got here, baking tin. Now I know some people like to just bake them in foil. There is a little bit of a health concern about foil containers, so I rather just bake it on just a lined baking tray, just so that it's not going to stick. This is just grease-proof paper. But what you can do, if you want to cook different chicken with different flavours and you don't want it all to start mixing up, just get some foil and use it as a divider. So Nathan, can you just do a quick close-up, just because it might help when people see. And obviously the cooking time, now this is important, the cooking time is going to vary. Now I've got here chunks, so if you are going to bake it, I mean obviously you could stir fry this, so you don't have to put it in the oven. If you are going to bake it and you're using chicken chunks, probably about 10 minutes max, depending on how quickly how small rather you chopped everything up. Now because these were raw chicken, I am going to dispose of those. Yes, you could rinse them all out and so on, but I'm not. So just space out your chicken like that. Obviously, if I was bulk doing this, I would do a lot more, but you make sure it is spaced out. If you cram it up too much, the chicken won't thoroughly cook. And then the jerk one, which is a little bit more liquid, so there will be some more spreading around, I'm going to put in the other bit. So around about 10 minutes for small chunks like this. If you were just doing the chicken breast, so it was a little bit bigger, give yourself about 15 minutes. It's not a long time. Obviously other things, particularly bone in, so thighs which have bones, they might take a little bit longer, maybe around about 20 minutes or so. And there's nothing to stop you, if you wanted to, from doing a whole chicken like this as well. Obviously you'd pot roast it. So that's your chicken. At the same time, I'm going to cook a range of veg. I'm just going to wash my hands. So Nathan, if you can just show the veg. Now the veg has got olive oil on. And one of the key tips with cooking at the same time is try and get your vegetables that you select at the similar sort of size that are all going to cook at roughly the same time. If you have things that take longer, like carrots, parsnips, for example, give them a quick blanch, 2 minutes in water, drain, and then bake. Welcome everyone if you're just joining us. We are just prepping our chicken and our veg, and the rice is cooking. Now this will do, at least 4 or 5 meals in different ways. So, you spend half an hour doing this prep and you've sorted for quite a few days, and cheap. So these are going to go in the oven. I've got my chicken. We're going to put it on at around about 190, and we're going to cook it for around about 10 minutes. Now for those of you who are novice to cooking chicken, quick tip, if you skewer it, doesn't matter what size, skewer it, you shouldn't have any pink or red blood coming out. It should be completely white all the way through. Obviously, with your chef, you stick a thermometer in, and it should be at least 165, but you're not going to be doing that. So the rice will need 20 minutes if you are doing whole grain. If you are doing more of the easy cooked rice, it would probably be about 15 minutes, but I want the whole grain, much more fibre, slower releasing. So while your chicken and your veg are prepping, your rice is cooking, I wanted to show you how to, get ahead. And one of the things I like to do is have in the fridge just a bog standard good salad dressing. So again, I got this from Poundland. Screw top lid, very useful. Obviously you can get, you can just use a jug, or a jam jar is great as well. Now the gold standard really for dressings, and I'm just doing a very basic one. Again, have a look at the new blog that's out about brilliant meal prep ideas, because all the recipes are on there, so all the combinations. But I'm going to do a very standard one. I often will use red wine vinegar. It's cheap and it goes with pretty much everything. So if you want just a bog standard one, get yourself red wine vinegar. It's also really good just drizzled over meat and fish anyway. So if you can only afford one vinegar, get red wine. I've actually got balsamic here, and generally the rule of thumb, I prefer things a bit more vinegary. So I'm using 4 tablespoons, because you want to get a reasonable amount made up, even if it's just for yourself, because this will keep in the fridge for weeks. To around about 7 of your oil, and I'm just using olive oil. If you wanted and you could afford something with a bit more of the omega-3s, then you could alternate with some, say, flaxseed oil, chia oil, and something like that as well. They are quite strong in flavour, so I like to, generally speaking, sort of alternate between that and olive oil. Remember too, especially if you're using a good quality extra virgin olive oil, it's incredibly healthy. Monounsaturated fats are known for their heart health properties. They're known for being anti-inflammatory. So they are very, very healthy. So don't shun general olive oil. It's really, really healthy, but try and pick a good one. So that's your balsamic vinegar or red wine vinegar and your olive oil. And obviously if you don't like vinegar so much, you could just switch it for lemon. And I often do use just lemon. Then we need a little bit, I'm using Dijon mustard, and I'm cheating. Now these are really good options. And again, you can get frozen versions as well. It's called, it is what it is, very lazy chopped garlic. Now, again, if you live on your own and you don't want to use garlic all the time, or again, you're a student, this is actually quite a cheap way, because you've got chopped garlic, which is normally kept in a little bit of either oil or vinegar, and it will keep in the fridge for ages. And then you can just use as little as you need. So rather than thinking, oh, I've got to crush up another garlic clove, and then the rest of the garlic clove goes off and it goes all hard and stale, and then you chuck it, this could actually work out cheaper for you. So I'm going to use about half a teaspoon. Obviously, if you don't like garlic, just leave it out. But again, this is a very useful thing that you can use drizzled over cooked veg and cooked grains. So it's very, very sort of versatile. And then this is a little bit of Dijon mustard. Again, around about half a teaspoon. It's quite spicy, Dijon mustard, so watch how much you use. Now, if you like it a little bit sweeter, you could then add in a little bit of stevia, granulated stevia or liquid stevia or xylitol. Give it a really good shake, and that's your dressing done. And that will keep in your fridge for weeks. So you've always then got something to jazz up your salads, pour over cooked grains, cooked beans, cans of chickpeas that you just drain and saute in a pan. And again, if you use olive oil, it's heat stable. So you could pour this into a pan just at the end of sauteing some veg, and you know it's not going to damage the fat at all. So that is a really good quick meal prep idea. Get it ready. And moving on, make yourself a load of mason jar salads. Now, it doesn't have to be mason jars, but let me show you what I mean. So these ones you can get from, I got these from Amazon, and I got a whole range of these. Now, I did actually get, Nathan, do you want to just do a close-up? I got what's called the wide mouth jars. If you do a search on Amazon, you will see that you get quite a different range. So it will normally say wide mouth. This is the, I think this is the think it's the it's the 500ml one, which is just right for one person. So what's also nice is that you've got measurements on here. So if you want to do salads, you've also got cup measurements if you're American. I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. If you're more used to using cup measurements. I hope you can see that. So these are the Ball Mason jars, wide mouth. And I separately bought these, which are plastic screw top containers, which are just a little bit more secure if you're traveling, you know, you're taking these to work or college, than the typical metal ones that come with it. And again, you can get these from Amazon, really cheap. And these are an absolute godsend. Thank you, Nathan, that was very kind. What I want to do is show you how to make up a quick salad, and then we're going to use these as well to make up some prepare ahead breakfast options as well. And again, I mentioned it on the blog, I am a bit of a Tupperware complete geek, but that's partly because I do a lot of cooking demos all over the country and I have to transport things. So this is what I've got. And again, these we all got from Poundland, didn't you know? And you know, we got a whole load of these just for £1. So these are really cheap. So cut up veggies. When you buy veggies, you know, whether it's salad veggies or things that you might be actually then cooking or steaming, just take about 5 minutes, quickly chop them all up and get them in Tupperware. And then they're in the fridge, ready for either when you want to stack on something or you want to prepare something in advance. Now here's a quick tip for salads. What you can do, there's nothing to stop you from just putting it in a plastic container, taking it to work and so on. But these are really good as well. And what I found is if you put the salad dressing in the bottom and then layer up your veg, you don't get all the sort of leafy greens soggy until you need it. So what I tend to do, give this a bit of a shake. And this is great if you're off to work and you don't want to buy, you know, spend a fortune on shop walk cafe salad. Just make these up as well, because it's not just for students. Obviously I do have slight focus at the moment with Nathan going off. So just a very small amount of your dressing, about a tablespoon, put in the bottom. Now this is important. Your choice of layering up your salad needs to be hard ingredients first and then the sort of soft ingredients at the top, because you don't want the salad dressing just making your salad soggy. So I'm going to use, I'm just doing a veggie salad for this one, whatever you've got in your fridge. So I've got here some cucumber, and I've actually de-seeded this and just cut it into chunks. So I've got that there. I'll move all this so that you can just see what I'm actually going to do, because I don't think you can really see, if I'm being honest. Then I've got here, and so you can see that the cucumber will hit the dressing, but that's good because it's quite bland on its own. Now if you were using tofu, you might actually want to put the tofu at the bottom, because the tofu will really soak up those lovely ingredients. I've got here some cherry tomatoes. Now I've halved these just to make them easier to eat, because all you can really do is you'll just need to take yourself a fork, stir it around, it's done. And then celery, that's quite hard. So this is more like a Caesar salad really, this one. But you could do anything. And obviously if you also wanted grains, you could add some of your cooked rice at the bottom. And that would be really nice, because again it would soak up all the flavours. So the rice that we're cooking, you could be using some of it in your salads. Then I need some protein. So for this one, because I'm making it more of a Greek salad and it goes really nicely with that balsamic, I've got here some chunks of feta cheese. So remember that's quite salty, so you might not need to add salt when you serve it. And what I've also got here is then the leafy salads. So this, you'll see, this is romaine lettuce, or you could use little gem. I've just shredded it, and then I'm just going to cram as much as I can in at the top. And the great thing is, of course, this is not going to touch my dressing. So these will keep in the fridge overnight, so you've got that ready either for today or for the following day. Those will keep in your fridge. When you're ready to serve, you give it a good shake. All the dressing will mix up nicely, obviously put the lid on, and then it's ready to eat. And you can either tip it into a bowl if you wanted, or just eat it straight from the jar. So that's your salad done. And obviously vary it, so you could use some grains at the bottom. Could be quinoa, it could be rice. You could use chicken, tofu. And obviously have an experiment with some of the dressings that I've mentioned on the blog. You know, you could just do a little bit of lemon juice at the bottom if you wanted. But always layer it up, make it nice and colourful, and the softer things at the top. So that is a quick mason jar salad. So that's a great option. What I want to do is just show you the chicken and the rice now, because you heard that bleep, and that was that the rice was cooking. Now I have cooked some in advance just because obviously you need to allow it to cool a bit. And I'm just going to check on the chicken to see whether that's ready. So I'm going to give that another 5 minutes, or 2 or 3 minutes. So when your rice is cooked, now you have an option here. Nathan, I want you to do a close-up. I want you to see if you've done it right, what your rice should look like. So I'm going to, now it will steam up, so apologies if you suddenly see a lot of steam. So now the ideal is that after 20 minutes, keep the lid on, and I would normally just allow it to steam in its own sort of liquid, the steam, for another 5 minutes. Now I'm not going to do that now because I want to show you what it looks like, but that will actually make it really fluffy. So you notice we didn't stir it, we didn't do anything to it. Take your lid off, and if you've got your proportions right of liquid and rice, then it should have soaked up all of that liquid. Can you see? And if you allow it to steam in its own liquid, or allow it to soak in its own steam for another 5 minutes, it'll be even fluffier. So that's what it should be like. You shouldn't need to strain it at all. Now, just before it's ready, or right at the very end, here's another quick tip. Get yourself a bag of frozen mixed vegetables. These are just defrosted, that's the only thing. And right at the end of cooking, because if they're only things like peas or sweet corn, if they're nice and chopped, they're really not going to take very long to cook. Chuck those in to your pan, put the lid back on. You might want to simmer this for a minute or so, or just allow it to steam and it will defrost. And that way you've now got pilau rice with lots of veg in there as well. So as well as the veg that we're cooking, you've now got rice and veg in here. And this would be excellent for salads, as well as you know, your main meal. Frozen veg, don't shun it. It's cheap, it's healthy, it's nutritious, no prep time, and you don't sort of waste things, because you only take out what you actually need. A lot of the time, especially if you're on your own, you have half an onion in the fridge that goes off, you have half a load of celery. This way you are not wasting money. So put in a load of chopped mixed veg into your pan about a minute before it's all ready. And this is what I did a bit earlier today. I did exactly that. So Nath, do you want to have a look? Because what we're going to do is we're going to just show everyone just how we can then use this. So apologies if Nathan's just wobbling. So this again, it's the same amount, 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. Right at the end, I chucked in a bag, or you know, a small bag of frozen vegetables, and that is lovely and light. Then what you can do is we start to portion this up into meals. So if you are someone who knows you're going to take it with you, and you want something that you're going to transport, again, good old Tupperware, I do love it. Get yourself a lid though, this is important, that does actually seal properly if you are going to take it to lunch. Don't get a cheap one where the lid's going to fly off in your handbag or your suitcase. Now the other nice thing is that a lot of these, I'm not advocating microwave, students, but a lot of these will be microwavable. Not a big fan of microwaving unless it's non-PBA, because we do know that the toxins get into your food. But always try and get a clip lock one, it's just a lot easier so that you are not going to necessarily tip it everywhere if you're travelling. The other thing that I like to do is get these. Now again, on Amazon you can get loads of these. You can get plastic ones. These are sort of little salad dressing containers. So if you are someone that you want to take your salad with you and you don't want to pour over your dressing now, you want to do it just when you serve it, get yourself a few of these. Again, we pick these up from Poundland. And I've got here the rest of that teriyaki marinade, which I didn't obviously touch the chicken with, I just kept that to one side. So I've got that to pour on there. So something like that, a small little container that you can either wash or stick in the dishwasher, that you can reuse. And I like glass, it's very safe. So that's really handy. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spoon in the rice. Now Nathan's hungry, so I am going to put quite a lot of rice in the bottom. But you should get at least 4 servings with 1 cup, Nathan. At least 4 servings of rice, please. And then the chicken will be ready. So I'm just going to move that, get the chicken and the veg out. And obviously if you've got slightly bigger portions of chicken, just check that it's cooked all the way through. And my veg is nice and ready as well. So what you might actually want to do, I'm just going to move this so you can see. What you might want to do is, let me just move this out of the way so you can really see what I'm going to do. So this is my chicken. So you might want to have some of this as an evening meal. So this might be your evening meal one. So this is your jerk chicken. So we're going to spoon some of that into here. I've got at least enough for 2 for each of these. So I've got 4 meals here. And then I'm going to put in some of my veg, which I'll show you in a minute. And just get a nice selection of your veg. I've already got veg, of course, in the rice. So that could be 1 meal for your evening. And if you wanted some dressing or something over that, you could do that. And then, of course, with the teriyaki, you might just want your rice, and you might actually want to do this as a salad. So you might want to put some of your chicken in here, and instead of doing the cooked veg, you might say, actually, I would like to put in some extra cherry tomatoes, because I know this is not going to be reheated. I'm actually going to eat this cold with the teriyaki marinade that I had left over. So I'm going to put a range of extra veg on there as well. And you might want to just top that off with some salad leaves as well. So you've got lunch options, as in salads. You've got cooked options for your evening. And I've got here enough for 4 or 5 different options. And then you'll probably have enough rice as well to do your mason jar salads if you want to put some rice there. So, 20 minutes, I've got 4 or 5 different meal options. But what about breakfast? Because breakfast is often something that a lot of people struggle with time. And I'm just going to move this over because, again, it doesn't have to be expensive. I know a lot of people might skip breakfast or grab something when they're out, but really it doesn't take long, and you could take it with you as well. So I'm going to show you a couple of mason jar ideas, which are really, really easy, so just bear with me. Okay, so I'll just get my ingredients. So again, you don't have to use mason jars. I just find that they're very, very useful because they're individual. So if you're making them up for different people in your family, they can choose the ingredients that they want. So let me just move this over because it's done with my favourite. Again, what I've got in here, this is a chia pudding, and this one you do need to make the night before. So for one person, I'm quite generous, I have to say. I do 2 tablespoons of chia seeds to about 250, 300 mils of almond milk, or any other milk. And all you need to do is stir it all together and then put it in the fridge, and then overnight it will soak up and you'll get quite a thick pudding. Now you might wonder why this is slightly browny. I added a scoop of protein powder to that, so vanilla, coffee, chocolate, whatever protein powder. And then in the morning, what you might want to do is also just tip in a few berries or other superfoods. And then you've got something that either you can eat straight away at home, or you could actually screw the lid on, maybe give it a bit of a shake, and take it with you. Now I appreciate if you're a student, chia seeds, probably a bit too expensive, may be a little bit out of your budget. So what about doing something similar with gluten-free oats? Obviously I'm mentioning gluten-free because we're gluten-free here. And again, in here I've got various sort of topping ingredients. And you can either make an instant porridge, or you could just use it to make your own muesli. So again, rule of thumb, try and use about half a cup of gluten-free porridge oats for one person. So I'm going to just tip that in there like that. Hopefully you can see that. And so that's about half a cup. And if you are going to do this as a porridge, then obviously you're not going to add any water until the morning, because I would generally make this the night before. And the same obviously with your muesli. Then add some of your flavourings. Again, I often will add a scoop of protein powder to that, because oats do contain protein, but it might not be quite enough for your morning. Try and get in some omegas. So I've got here a mixed range of nuts and seeds. Well, these are actually more linseeds, flax, chia, sunflower and pumpkin seeds rather than nuts. I've got here a little superfood mix. This has got some raw cacao, some almonds, some coconut, and some Incan berries. And then you could just layer it up with a few more bits of goji. Don't go over the top with dried fruit. It is a form of sugar. And then again, all you're going to do is put your lid on, put it in the fridge. I wouldn't add fresh fruit at this stage. I'd add fresh fruit in the morning, because otherwise, particularly if you're using something like a banana or grated apple, it's going to go a bit brown. Berries would be fine, but not something that's going to go off. And then again, lid on, and you can either then turn this into a porridge by pouring around about 3/4 of a cup of boiling water, stir it, let it sit for 2 minutes, and it's done. Or you just pour over your almond milk and you serve it straight like a muesli. So chia puddings, porridge and muesli, which are great for travelling breakfast. You can also do the same if you like just a protein shake. So you could actually use these or a protein bottle and get those all ready. And of course, the other thing that you can do with your Ziploc bags for morning is to assemble your smoothie ingredients. So you could have these made up for 1, 2 or 3 days, label it, put your greens in, maybe some lemon, maybe some chopped fruit, maybe some superfood powder, and then you can just tip it into your NutriBullet or blender with some water or almond milk, and then it's ready to blend. So you've always got it portioned out. So that was my quick sort of meal prep range of ideas for you. I think we've got a question, just bear with us.
Question from Karen.
Hi Karen.
Any alternative flakes that are more suitable other than oats?
Yeah, so what I often will do, Karen, very good question. Quinoa flakes, they're a bit more expensive, but that's partly why I chose gluten-free oats, because obviously Nathan's concerned about budget. So quinoa flakes, rice flakes, amaranth flakes are all really good. Now I'll tell you another thing that I often do, is I use, obviously not with vegetables in there, I use the rice, the cooked rice, and I will put whole grain cooked rice in there with the same sort of flavouring, superfoods, seeds and so on, and then just pour over the milk when I'm ready to serve, and you've almost got a cold rice pudding. So you could actually use cooked rice. Obviously don't flavour it with chicken stock if you're going to do that. And another idea, which my boys have been doing, is actually to have a savoury option. So I often will use things like this, either sachets of miso soup, just put the powder in the bottom, or you could use the Tidford organic raw miso paste, and then layer up with some rice, some veggies that are cooked, and maybe some chicken or tofu, and then pour boiling water over in the morning, and you've got a miso soup for breakfast. Why not? You could add some rice or rice noodles to that as well. So I often will go more savoury rather than sweet for morning, but cooked rice, which is cheap, could actually be another really good option as a sort of muesli or porridge. Hopefully that helps.
Question from Sonia. Which protein powder
Sonia.
are you using?
Very good question. I use lots. This morning, this one was it was Vital Pea protein, because I wanted a coffee flavour one, and they do a really nice coffee one. I tend to go for ones that are either organic and with very, very little added. So some good brands, and I'm not paid by any of them, I just want to make this point. This is what I use with my clients and at home. I like Pulsin, Purition. There's some good ones now from Biosynergy that do a really nice vegan one. And apologies if I miss any good companies. New Zest, Vital Pea Protein are very good. Allergy Research do some good NutriClear products. And Ultra Inflamax is a good one as well from Nutri. And also Bartix Research do a really good pure pea one and a whey one as well. There's lots of other good brands out there. I'm not knocking other brands at all. Those are the ones that come to mind that are in my cupboards at the moment. But whatever you do, choose one which doesn't have lots of sweeteners, lots of flavourings, lots of additives. Just get a pure protein powder. But they do have to taste good as well, which is why I've used what I've mentioned today. So that hopefully that helps. Again, what you could also do is get a plain protein powder, and then if you want some extra flavouring, why not add some raw cacao or even dandelion coffee granules to your mix, and then when you pour over your water, you'll get a lovely sort of chocolatey or coffee type flavour. So hopefully that helps as well. But thank you everyone. Read the blog. We've got a lovely blog about quick meal prep ideas that are cheap and healthy. And also if you are a student going off to uni, we've got a really good gluten-free ebook, which is only a £5 from Amazon, which has lots of these ideas, but also more importantly, some really good recipes that will help you to survive your first term at uni. I think we've just got one more question before I go.
So a question, my 14-year-old started doing some weights and I wanted to get him set with a go-to post-workout smoothie.
Yes, great idea.
Would you say Vital Protein is a nice and gentle starting point?
Yeah, Vital Protein. I mean, I would, for a 14-year-old, if I'm being really honest with you, I would encourage him to eat food, not protein powder. So to be honest, what I would tend to do is there's nothing wrong with him having a recovery smoothie. So you could use yogurt, you could use kefir, you could use almond milk or other milk. You could use a spoonful of nut butter, like almond nut butter. and obviously fruits, and blend that up. And then for additional protein on the side, I would be tempted to say get some nuts and seeds for him to snack on, or a homemade granola bar, boiled egg, you know, some feta cheese, some cottage cheese. A lot of the time you can actually get better protein that's just as good for him without resorting to protein powders. I think 14, while it's fine for him to have the odd bit of protein powder, you might just want to get his mindset into real food. But yes, I mean, anything that's very low allergenic, which is rice or pea or something similar, would be a good move for him. So the pea, the hemp, the rice protein powders can be very good. But I would try and encourage him to have more smoothies that contain nut butters, nuts and seeds for extra protein, and full fat milk or almond milk, to give him that extra protein, rather than necessarily resorting to protein powder. Hopefully that helps. So thank you everyone. Go to our blog. Thank you for your time today. Enjoy the blog and all the recipes in the gluten-free student ebook, and I will see you soon for another great cook along. Thank you everyone.